Okay, thank you very much for turning up to the Standards Committee this morning. Good afternoon and welcome. My name's Councillor Keith Driver and I'll be chairing the meeting. To begin with, we've got a few housewarming matters. In the event of emergency, there's no practice alarms planned for this meeting. So if alarms sound, evacuate the city hall down the stairs and meet on the War Memorial opposite. Please would speakers use the microphones at all times, speak directly into the microphones and please mute them when you're not speaking. And this meeting is being live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel. Members of the committee may use electrical devices and access their meeting papers, and visitors are welcome to use their mobile phones and other devices, including cameras, but please use them discreetly, set them on silent, and do not use voice or camera flash functions. Members of the committee and officers will introduce themselves, starting from Lucy on the left.
I'm Lucy Galvin. Judith Lubbock.
I'm Councillor Mike Sands.
Good morning. My name's Peter Brands and I'm the co-opted member, independent.
Good morning, I'm David Irvin. I'm the independent person.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Nick Burdett. I'm the digital business partner for the Resources Directorate.
Good morning, my name's Dave Brown. I'm the Corporate Health and Safety Manager.
Robert Carmichael, Democratic Services Manager.
Alexandra Cosmo, Senior Committee Officer.
Brilliant. If we can go ahead now, we'll go on to the agenda. Apologies, I've got apologies from Councillor Jones and Councillor Catt as well. Any more apologies? No, but we've still got another independent person might come up. Yeah, thank you. Declarations of interest, anyone? No, minutes of the last meeting. Hold on, 1st of July. Do we believe they're a quick record? Yep, thank you very much for that. Before we go on to the business of the meeting, I'd like to welcome the new independent person, David. We met Joanne Bank. She should be here today, hopefully. But would you like to tell us a bit about your background? Would you like to tell us a bit about your background?
Yeah. Okay. Or a member of the IRP panel. And I've consulted at the hearings a couple of times as well, so in different authorities. So largely it's sort of Norfolk, Suffolk, Essex and Kent, but with Lincolnshire and Yorkshire involved as well.
Brilliant, thank you very much for that. We now move on to item 4 on the agenda, the safety protocol and risk assessment template. Robert, are you going to take us through this?
Thank you, Chair. So following the meeting in July, work has been undertaken by the monitoring officer, myself and the Democratic Services team. The main bulk of the report consists of the appendices as follows. Appendix A details the councillor safety guidance and protocol, which provides general advice for councillors with regards to their general duties. This is an amalgamous document drawing up guidance detailed in the further resources section, but with the principal contributor being from the Local Government Association guidance. Appendix B details the personal safety risk assessment. We will be asking all councillors to complete this so that any mitigation measures can be put in place where risks have been identified with regards to your role as a councillor. A key part that sits throughout this work is being done by our health and safety manager, Dave Brown, who's here, and I'm going to ask him to showcase now the lone worker device, which he's brought with him.
So these are new devices, moving away from the previous smartphone app that some of you might have used, or the fobs that people had in their pockets, both of which, from staff point of view, were deemed unsuitable. So we trialled a number of different solutions, and this one came out as the most usable and most suitable for staff, and obviously will serve councillors should they wish to go down this route as well. So it is an ID card holder, as you can see, works just like the normal ID holders in terms of allowing you to use your card for accessing doors. But on the back of it, discreetly tucked away, is your SOS button if you need to summon assistance. There are two other buttons on here. One is a power button, and the other one is for you to manually input your location, either by pinging it, so it will send a GPS signal, or by pressing and holding the button down, and then you can leave a voicemail message. These are monitored by a call centre 24/7, and if you press the red alert button, what they will do is they will listen for 10 seconds without saying anything and assess the situation that you're in case it's been a false alarm or a situation where them talking to you through the device might exasperate the situation, and then they will make a decision after that 10 seconds. And the council we have had 2 staff that have actually used this, and the police have been summoned on their behalf to go and support them. So it's been a very popular, we've had 321, I believe, devices issued out to staff so far, and the feedback has been really good. They're not cumbersome at all. They've got a grab pull switch on the side here, so if somebody rips it off you, it will actually trigger the alarm on it as well. As I say, the alarm is picked up by a monitoring station, and they can actually talk to you and listen through the device as well. So it works on 4G roaming signal, so it pick up your signal regardless of what service provider area you're in, and provides a really robust provision for lone workers, support for lone workers. Obviously, it's a reactive measure rather than a proactive measure, because it can't stop something happening. Although, having said that, we have had a number of staff now who've chosen to wear it the other way round. So they wear it this way round, and it's been reported that acts as a deterrent because people can't make out whether or not it's a body worn camera because of the screen that it's got at the front of here. So there's a bit of a deterrent there as well, but primarily it's a reactive device to enable support to find you and get to you quickly. So as I say, there are devices available for councillors should they wish to have them, and an escalation plan can be set up to support councillors while they're going out and doing it doesn't have any impact on what you do, on how you do it. It's just a safety device for you to use as well.
Brilliant. I've got 1 or 2 questions quickly. Are you supposed to warn people if you're filming them anyway? So that didn't make any difference.
It doesn't. This
Yeah,
doesn't.
no, I
film.
know I don't film anyone.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you said people are
So
thinking about the other way.
there is a requirement for
Yeah.
you to have displayed or to warn people. So
Yeah.
we've got body worn videos for some other staff, but that comes with a notice that goes on the lapel as well, to warn that there's body worn video being used.
Have you got a lot more feedback? But people say these are really great, but do not make them feel safer, so they're actually going into a worse situation because you know
No.
what I mean? Is any of that happening?
As I said, it's a reactive
Yeah.
measure, not a proactive, so it won't keep you safe. That's down
No.
to your own judgment call. What it is it provides an element of reassurance that by pressing the button on the back, somebody will not only listen to what's going on, but will also bypass the 999 call system and get straight in touch with the police and get them onto you.
Okay, brilliant. Councillor Sayers?
I'm guessing they recharge much like a mobile phone. So how long does the charge last?
Yeah, you're right. There's a charger that comes with them in the box, and they need charging probably once a week, depending on use. And you can turn them on and off daily as you use them. Obviously, when it's turned off, it's completely dormant, so it's not monitoring your position or anything like that. So it's only effective if you've got it turned on and it's connected.
Councillor Gowan?
Thank you. Just to check, so a couple of things. Will they make a recording so that it could be used? Also, are they issued on request? And have you got, if everyone requests them, is that going to be a problem? And will people keep them permanently? So do they make a recording? Are they issued on request? And it's a wider question, this, perhaps we want to discuss it a bit, but are we having conflict resolution and sort of communication training? Because I think people generally find that if you communicate, there are other ways to you don't necessarily have to wear one of these. If you're trained in how to communicate with people, things don't, often they don't escalate. I've had 10 years as a councillor where I've never had any kind of threat or anything. I've been into multiple houses, and I think I want to make sure that we're also providing positive communication methods for our councillors and not having to rely on surveillance, etc.
Yeah, trying to remember those points if I can.
Yeah, well, do they record in case of criminal prosecutions, etc.? Or will they be issued to everyone?
So they record a GPS location. They ping a GPS location every 15 minutes. You can update that by pressing the button on the back, and that so if you're going between buildings that are very close to each other within a 15-minute period, you might want to press the button to say I've moved from there to the next place, because it will pick up your location within a 3-meter square area, basically.
So it's not recording what it hears. It's just saying where you are.
As in terms of what's happening,
No.
unless you press the alarm button, and then it will record what it's hearing. So
Okay.
the person listens to it and can record. And also, when you press the ping, you can press and hold it, and you can leave a voicemail message, which
Right.
will then be recorded if you want to. So if you're going to a block of flats, this will identify that you're at a location which is a block of flats, but it won't tell you what floor you're on or what flat number you're at. So you could press the button and say, I'm now going to the 3rd floor,
Right.
and that will be recorded, yes.
Thank you.
I think it's a good point that Lucy makes about conflict resolution through talking, and but after a number of years of doing the job, I think you sort of learn a lot of that. But also I think if a councillor did need that, could they just request it for a one-off rather than be issued with one?
Potentially, it's not. I mean, issuing a device is fairly straightforward, but it's about the effectiveness of it in times where it's not a red alert situation. So if somebody's just had an accident and is unconscious, then you won't obviously send a signal, but there's an escalation route that's needed to be able to try and find you. So it will go through a series of escalation calls to numbers that we've provided. So that's the bit that makes it more tricky to just dish them out for a one-off. because we have
Yeah.
to set an escalation route up for
Yeah.
the user.
But obviously in this document, we've got all the advice about, you know, telling someone where you're going at what time and what time you expect to be back, things like that.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, you know, in what sort of circumstances a counsellor, having done all that, chooses to have one of those. But if it's not a question of choosing for that particular circumstance, then you know, do we want to issue everyone with one just in case?
If you've got a documented process for how to stay in touch, that is your escalation route effectively, and that would, the same escalation route would apply to anybody that had one, unless you go in and physically change it. So in terms of that, there shouldn't be too much change required from that. So issuing them out, they would all follow that same escalation route. Then we would just have to let the call centre know.
Robert?
Thank you, Chair. I think that the thing that I would add to what my colleague has just said is that it can be alongside those measures that you've already got. So it's not a replacement, and then ultimately it's up to each councillor to put in measures that they're comfortable with. But this is an option that councillors can take up. So that's the best way that I would suggest members think about it.
So we've been trialling it in some fairly well-known low signal areas, and because it's got a roaming SIM card in it that uses GPS as well, we've not had any problems as yet. I mean, potentially there might be an area where we haven't trialed it and we haven't tested it that it doesn't, but we haven't found that, and we've been out looking for that as part of the trial.
Can I propose perhaps a couple of recommendations just to think about? One is that we have some clear guidance for councillors about when they should ask for one, like, and a bit of training on their use, because they're obviously not cheap, I shouldn't think, to give out and to monitor. They need to be used, but we don't want them sitting in people's drawers at home and not used. So I think there should be some guidance on when they're used, some training on when they're used, and also I'd like to ask for some training in non-violent communication techniques and propose that as a resolution as well to sit alongside this.
Can I just say, I think that the conflict resolution and de-escalation training is really important as well, and we do provide that for customer contact facing staff. That hasn't, having said that, that hasn't stopped the 2 occasions where they have had to be in a position where they have had to press the button. But yes, you're absolutely right. It sits alongside.
Thank you, Chair. If I continue through because I didn't get through to the end of the other parts. So just going back to the other points within the report. So for Appendix C, we have the personal safety checklist, which gives councillors a reminder of important things to remember, but also things to consider when they're, with regards to their personal safety, when going to ward surgeries and community meetings. Appendix D is another checklist. However, this applies more to home visits, and we should know that if councillors do wish to meet constituents in a secure environment, there is also provision that can be made here at City Hall should they feel that there is not appropriate. Appendix E. Last time we spoke of the form that would escalate and report incidents, and we have been that is before you, and it's now back before you as a partial draft form based off the accident incident reporting form, which is on the internal website. So this form allows for councillors to be chosen as an option and will automatically be sent to Democratic Services and the monitoring officer once it's been completed as part of that escalation process. And then we will work with you to take suggested actions dependent on the information that's been provided. So we have with us as well today is Nick Burdett, is our digital business partner for resources, who works on the technical side of that, and we have gone through any specifics of the form should members have any. So as we said, we're just finalising the form and we'll have it available soon, subject to testing that just needs to be completed essentially. Thank you, Chair. And obviously we will welcome any comments from members on any of these items. Thank you.
Can I say thank you for all the work that's gone into this, because it's really good to see. I'm sure we all want to thank you for that. It looks very thorough. I wanted to ask specifically how you book a room at City Hall, because we used to have access to the intranet, so we could book rooms, but we don't have that anymore. And I think I like to meet people here, but I need to be able to know how to do that. And I can't always ask our political assistant to do it. He's not here full time, and it's not fair on him to have to do that either. So I'd like to have a simple way to book a room here to meet people. That's my main comment. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Just to respond to that. So from the first point, we would say that obviously if you need one, you can always contact ourselves in Dem Services, but if we need to look at a different route in it, we can explore that and find a simpler way and look at that as well.
I'd just like to echo that this is a very good report, and it does encompass a lot, well, everything that I think we could have done following on from that hate motion, was it love not hate motion, and it's very thorough. But in the introduction, I don't know whether who it was in the Democratic Services to say most often helping individuals in the community with their problems is the most rewarding part of being a councillor. And I can say from 30 years experience, it definitely is the most rewarding part. So it is really fundamental to the job that, you know, we are able to meet with the members of the community and try and help and signpost and so on. So that was very insightful of you, whoever wrote that bit in.
Sort of a question going back to the device, actually, if you don't mind. When they are issued, they're obviously issued to a person. If it was activated, does the person in the control centre know which councillor or officer has activated it? Do they have? Does it come up on the screen with the person's name?
So by virtue of the fact that one is issued to a person, it's assigned on their portal as to who has what device. Having said that, while I've been sitting here thinking, we have got a couple of teams that have a shared device. So they have a device that's shared between 6 members of staff. The escalation route is exactly the same for all of those. And when one of them feels they're going out and needs to take it, they just press the button and leave their name on the device, which is picked up then so that the person at the call centre knows who they're talking about and who they're talking to.
Thank you. So the incident reporting form, on a wider point, really, the issue that's really starting to occur and is quite frightening is sort of AI generated images being used online as part of campaigns that are clearly being run quite professionally from somewhere outside the city. So they're very difficult for the police to combat, and they involve actual councillors at this council being singled out and really, really horrific images being shared. So that is an incident and the police are involved. So I'm just wanting to point out that a lot of this harassment and bullying and crime is moving into the digital sphere, and it's how what we can do really to make sure that's got a recording process and the impact of it, and councillors are protected and taught how to protect themselves online, which is frankly very difficult. But it's what we've done to think about that area, I think, because that is where hate is spreading like wildfire.
I could bring in my colleague Nick just to check with regards to the form whether it's possible to upload images something that we could put in?
Whichever route you go through on the form, whether you're reporting an accident, an incident, verbal abuse, at the bottom there is always the option to upload any evidence. There isn't a specific choice on there at the moment for the example that you've given for like digital bullying. I don't know what the phrase would be, but that's the one that pops into my mind. Technically, it's Dave's form because it's part of the RIDDLE regulations to report certain incidents. As an authority, we have a duty to do so. The form is always adaptable, but I guess we need to move in step with the legislation. But I would imagine over time that will also move. The form is always adaptable. It's not set in stone. So if we need to amend it going forwards, we can amend it. But there is an option for you to upload images and off the internet if you take a screenshot, so you can have those discussions now.
I'd just add that while the form, you're right, the form can't prevent this sort of thing from happening, and the outcome of it can't change anything. What it can do is, if it's reported robustly, is build a picture of all of the incidents that happen, because then we stand a better chance of spotting trends and spotting potential tracking potentially where things come from, rather than individual isolated cases.
Follow that up, Keith. Yeah, I mean, I really want to stress it's literally horrific, violent images are being shared now of councillors at this council, and they're spreading. And those kind of things can translate to actual harm quite easily. And even if they don't, the mental harm done by them. So it would be good to have councillors kind of briefed on that area. Another thing that we might think about is just to have some sort of briefing on cyberbullying, etc.
Thank you, Chair. I think that the outcome point of the form as well is that when it's assessed by the monitoring officer and myself, is essentially we have that link in with the police as well. So with something that would come to that, obviously it's beyond us as a council. We would then say, contact the force police officer, or we can do it on your behalf essentially, and we've got that direct link in. And as for members that attended the session with PC McMahon last month, and we do have another session coming up, so sell that to everyone as well. We have that link in, and when it becomes beyond what we can do, we will then escalate it to the police at that point. But PC McMahon has made it absolutely clear that if he doesn't know either, it's really important that the police are aware of these incidents and it's reported to them, because they can only take action such as to what David said through reported incidents, and he's very keen to make sure that that is on his board and on the police's board as well. But with regards to training points, then we can look at that, and we can also take it to the member development group, which is meeting this month as well, as a suggestion should it be wanted.
Under 9.1 in the report, under social media, there's report malicious posts and messages to the police and council. At what point do they get reported to the regulators of the social media to actually ask them to take it down? I mean, what you're talking about is that bad, and I don't know whether there is a way that you can report it and ask for it to be taken down.
Thank you, Chair. I believe from an incident that happened not in the distant past that the council did report it to the operator of the company. Now, I don't know, I can't answer with regards to the regulator though, with regards to it. So that might be something we might need to come back to, because I don't have enough understanding on that part. But I'm assuming that any individual could also do that, but it's where that boundary lies on where the council wants it to be. The council reporting it.
It's very difficult to actually do that. And there was an incident, I think, quite recently where the local press in their comments section had something that was defamatory, and it wasn't taken down despite repeat requests. And so I think that the leader and the chief executive were going to meet to sort of try and sort that out. But if an individual can't make any headway with it, it's going to be difficult, isn't it?
Come back from reference to that, because I remember that conversation as well, is that IPSO do not regulate the comments of it. It's only the content of the reports as opposed to the comments. So it's an internal process with regards to those, but it was, as you say, in that briefing to PC McMahon.
Listening to this as the co-opted member, I'm not quite sure how it fits in to the brief of the Standards Committee, but having passed past that point, in the sense, when I've read this through, it says things like it's always advisable to trust your own instincts and things like that. So you have this very prescribed document in 3 appendices or more. Yes. And I'm a bit concerned that should something happen badly and a councillor hadn't filled in the forms which say, I've done this, I've done all the checks, how would the Standards Committee feel about that? In a sense, is that not following the standards that's been asked of? It doesn't fit the principles of the Standards Committee in the Nolan but I'm just trying to work in how, having heard all of this and having all the quite interesting explanation of how this all is going to work, I'm just trying to understand how that fits into the Standards Committee. Because if councillors don't want to do this, I mean, in a group of people, you know, I'm probably one of them. I would say, oh, I can't be bothered with all this. I'm quite safe to go into this house. Do I have to fill in a form, a checklist? If I haven't done that and then something happens, who's to blame? So I get all this. I think it's admirable. I think it's the right thing to do, but I'm not quite sure how it can be enforced. It's called guidance, but actually with phrases like, well, it's up to you to decide what you think, it's pretty lukewarm guidance. So, I mean, I'm on the outside.
My question is really an extension to your comments, because I asked myself how's the safety guidance and protocol being published as far as councillors are concerned. Everyone in this meeting room knows that, but at some point you've got to make sure all of your councillors are aware of it. And really, how are you going to train your councillors to use the personal safety pre-visit checklist? Because human nature being what it is, it might be used once and then people tend to let it lapse. How will they be made aware?
So with regards to all of the documents that come out, once we've had the recommendations from yourselves as the Standards Committee.
It's really hard to hear at this end of the room because of that noise.
Would you mind, David? Thank you.
Use their microphones or turn them. Yeah, it's very hard to hear. Oh, thank you.
That's like turning off a railroad drill.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
I was, yeah, thank you, Chair. So once the Standards Committee has made their deliberations on these points and have made recommendations, we will then implement those, and then we will make sure that it's put on e-councillor, and we will be contacting all councillors about these documents to make sure that they are aware of them. Some members may already be aware through the agenda, but we will make sure that it goes to all councillors. We'll inform the group leaders as well and stress the importance of safety to councillors. Now, I completely take the point from our co-opted member, Mr. Franzen, that it is guidance at the end of the day, and councillors do have to make a judgment, but we also have that duty of care to do as much as we can through these documents to make sure that councillors have the tools available, whether it be through the guidance to make those informed decisions, because it is personal safety is not. It is a essentially judgment of the situation we're in, but with like the SIM card, the GPS device, with the safeguarding measures, and also to doing the risk assessments of councillors, we can do as much as we can to try and limit that risk and put mitigations in place. And with regards to training, absolutely, councillors would need to be trained on it, and there'd be no doubt in my mind that that would be a necessity to use the devices. And I'm sure David would agree on that.
Just to say that a couple of years ago, we did run a session on personal safety for councillors. When Leah, I think, was here, yeah. So I'm quite happy to do that again.
Perhaps can I suggest another recommendation that it comes back to us at standards in a year, you know, once this is operationalised and we get report, can we have an update in a year's time on how many we've had and on the training who attended, so we can keep an eye on it. Is a standards matter. It has, because we did the debate, not hate motion, etc. It's picking up. Yeah, it's picking up on that. That's why it's here, and it's quite right. It should be here as well. It has to come through the process.
Just looking at Appendix D, I mean, I can see the point of it, but look, have you remembered to avoid big cosy chairs in the kitchen? If it's a pre-visit form, you kind of like don't know what the situation is. A person might only have big cosy chairs. You know, I mean, I've been to some places where they really don't have much in the way of furniture. So it's kind of like a bit funny in a way, because it's almost as if you have to fill it in retrospectively. And certainly when I often get calls, someone has a problem, and I sort of go out, not immediately, but more or less immediately, and you don't know what the venue is like until you get there. So, yeah.
I think what the forum's trying to do is, because I've had experience of these before, is to draw your attention to the sort of thinking process that you might go through before you suddenly think, I'll go and deal with that immediately. And it's saying, you know, are you sure you need to do this? Can you do this some other way? Is this a safe location? It's just a state of mind, really, which is what will improve your safety. And I think it's your pre-visit checklist is something you need to just think about in the back of your mind. Thank you, Chairman. The only other thing I'd say, Chairman, is I see you make a comment about social media in one of the sections. Let me get to it quickly. I think it's section A, when it talks, yeah, in section 9.1, social media. What can I say? 9 cases. I get about 3 or 4 cases a month come past me from various parts of the country. 9 out of 10 of them are to do with social media. And there's an LGA social media guidance on your in your appendix. It is where councillors are in capacity and have reacted violently or verbally or by social media to something that causes those complaints. It's those complaints that then lead on to action by other members of the public. And I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls that I come across. 9 out of 10 are me dealing with complaints about social media.
So we've got several recommendations have been mentioned throughout, so I just wondered if I could just capture those and make sure we've got agreement from the committee. So the first recommendation from Councillor Galvin was to request that we have clear guidance on how and when the lone worker device should be used, and potentially some training. There was also a request, I think, for kind of DEM services or somewhere else to organise some training on non-violent communication techniques. And then lastly, a recommendation that an update on these actions comes back to standards in about a year's time. So that could highlight things that we've done, such as training, the attendance we have to that, and any sort of cases that have happened since. Councillor Galvin?
One that's missed off, which was how to book a room at City Hall, but that might be, yeah.
Yeah.
Would there, in that perhaps final report back to us, be the necessity to have perhaps an annual review of it? Because it is a fast changing world that we live in, and the threat is very much online at the moment. It's going to get worse, but then, and as Lucy said, the talk of AI and how that is used. But I do think it needs to be reviewed, and in it being reviewed, one might again highlight to those new councillors. That's the issue. I mean, we're going to have new councillors. We used to have them every year. We may not have them every year. If we're a unitary, we might have them every 4 years or 2 years. I don't know, but it's so important to capture the new councillors. I mean, you know, once we give the publicity that Michael's Robert's talked about with regard to all the councillors currently, we do need to make sure every new councillor thereafter gets all the information. Thank you.
Bearing in mind the social media difficulties that we were warned about, and I spoke about it 3 or 4 years ago, there was supposed to be a group set up to advise councillors about social media and how to be so wary and careful of it. And also, we spoke at the time about having separate social media accounts so that you could differentiate between your private social media, or socials as they seem to call it these days, and your council work. Is that something which should be actively pursued as opposed to just mentioned? Because as David points out, social media is a huge pitfall to fall into as a councillor. And the other issue is it exposes you to all sorts of abuse. So it is probably the mainstream channel for the difficulties which people are facing. And it seems to me that we're talking about going into people's homes, which is all well and good, and it's the right thing to do. But social media is you know, a black hole, and someone needs to avoid people from falling into it. And I think that there's not enough emphasis on it.
It does say that you should read this in conjunction with the local government association guidelines, and they have guidelines on how the best way to have separate accounts and keep yourself keep the two roles as an individual and as a councillor separate. They do have guidance on that.
Well, only to say that yeah, I agree, that's true. But how do we monitor and how do we encourage them that they really, really ought to have separate accounts? It is just left in the air. It's guidance again.
I think at the end of the day, Chair, if I may come in, is that essentially that is guidance. We can't force councils. We can only advise to the nth degree to say that this is in your interest to do this. But at the end of the day, it's a councillor's choice to do that. So I appreciate that it might essentially the LGA's social media guidance, as referenced in point 9.1, I believe does have that as a point, and we would encourage councillors to do that as a matter of course, and we will do that for any new councillors that join as well.
I was just going to say that the first thing we do in the event of a complaint is work out if you are incapacity, by which we mean were you representing yourself, were you representing Norwich City Council, should I say, when you made the comment or spoke to someone. Now, that's why it is extremely wise to have two accounts, social media if you have it, but treat social media like a loaded gun, because it will blow your head off.
very fine points. So just back to what Lubbock was saying, if the Standards Committee want to add it as a standard item for every year, then you are as a committee able to do that and put that on your work programme for it to come back. Yes, Chair. So members may recognise this report, which was presented to full council last week by Councillor Jones. Updates from the previous meeting is that a briefing has been undertaken by the Norfolk Constabulary, as mentioned earlier, with regards to councillor safety. I would encourage all members to attend the second session that is being organised and we are hosting it on behalf of the whole Norfolk area, so that we can try and get as much input as well from other councillors who may be able to share their experiences as well. So we have that coming up, and obviously would encourage all councillors to attend. Just to mention that because of the content involved, again, it is confidential in terms of the advice given, so we can't record it or share it, so attendance is key. Further work needs to be undertaken with regards to risk properties, as mentioned in the report, that should not be visited alone, to ensure that councillors have to make sure that councillors have access to an up-to-date information list, so that they can access this with regards to customer alert lists, or for those home visits, that they know if they should go or not. So we are working on that to try and bring that to council. It's up to date, and you can look at it as a live document essentially, and then raise that as should come up. But other than that, Chair, I don't believe there's any other updates that I need to bring for you. But
Sorry for being late.
Can I just ask if on the agenda is the date of the next meeting?